So, since the summer movie season has come to a close, I kind of just wanted to give my closing thoughts on what happened. It was very interesting. Um, you might remember, probably not, but a few months back when I made my fantastic flop uh, video, I wasn't actually, or at least I don't think I ever referred to the film's box office for it being a flop. I solely meant uh, the quality. Like it was gonna be bad because everything that had come before for Phase 4 and 5 of Marvel had been bad, barring No Way Home maybe, but everything else was terrible. So I was like, it's gonna just fall in line. But even then, I still expected it to make at least a decent amount of money. Being Fantastic Four, being the novelty of this new direction for Marvel, I figured that all the idiots out there would appreciate that and they would go see it, and maybe it would be boosted by Superman. It would be like the July of superheroes, and it would have like a Barbenheimer effect or something. I don't know, but that is not what happened. Fantastic Four currently sits at $506 million worldwide. That is very, very bad. That is definitely, like, I won't say with 100% certainty, but with the information I have now, that is a flop. That is not what Marvel would have wanted for this big release. It's their last one of the year. They're going to have to wait another year until Doomsday comes out, so this is a very bad sign for Marvel. But on the flip side, what is DC doing? Well, Superman made 611 million worldwide. Ugh. Right? It's like Superman. You think of that title, that IP, and you're just like, oh, you have $1 billion movie. You could literally, it could be paint drying on the wall, and you'd have $1 billion movie. That is also not what happened. Superman massively underperformed, possibly even flopped once you factor in all the financial costs and the theater cuts and everything. And this is just a very bad. Earlier on, when I was talking, like last year, when I was talking about Deadpool and Wolverine, there was just like the conversation was oriented to like superhero movies are back, they're not dead, there's still an aptitude for it. And I hated that movie, but it was very successful. Lots of people liked it, and for some reason they thought that this would like let Marvel coast by until the next Avengers movie or something like that. But then what happened? Captain America 4 flopped. Thunderbolts flopped. Um, Daredevil Born Again, no one watched it. So it's like now you have to accept that that was just a one-off thing. That it was never gonna help Marvel or save Marvel from the slump it was in. That was never going to happen. It was always gonna just be this novelty. Hugh Jackman and Wolverine coming back, and Ryan Reynolds Deadpool. That was just its own thing. And I think Superman is like the embodiment of that. That it's not a good movie, at least in my opinion. But the fact that it didn't even like break 700 million, a Superman movie, that is like the clear signal to me that the superhero, uh, what's it called, strat or trump card, or I'm blanking right now, but the superhero meta, there we go, is not there anymore. It's not at full strength. It's not been replaced yet. I don't think there's not been a new genre or style or anything like that to replace it, and so this ends up being like the headliners for the box office. But even then, they're not as dominant as you'd think they would be. And I think Jurassic World Rebirth also slides into this viewpoint, kind of, because the last one, which was Dominion, which came out 3 years ago, made $1 billion. Awful movie. No one talks about it. No one remembers it. Just like all the other Jurassic World movies, they make a bunch of money and then they're just gone, right? But even this made, I think, 200, let's see. Uh, yeah, it made over 100 it made 150 million less than the previous movie. It did fine for itself. 900 million is nothing to, snore at, but there's just, you're getting signs, you know what I mean? You're getting signs that shit is hitting the fan. That these huge, big budget movies that are not scripted well, are not produced well, and just sometimes not even acted well, if we're being honest. It's not a viable way to have returns. So, what you're granted to pick a new direction here, Hollywood. Speaking of which, I do want to comment on predictions now that you're getting this fractured Hollywood. That's splitting up and diversifying around the country in different spots like Georgia and Texas and stuff like that. It's kind of moving out of California. What will that mean for the next 5 years, 10 years for productions? Are we going to see different actors, different studios? What is the possibilities are endless. But looking in the shorter term, with Marvel in particular, when Doomsday comes out, that is just it is apocalypse waiting to happen. I don't know what it's going to be about broadly. I know Doctor Doom's going to be in it. Honestly, I know who's going to be in it because they did the stupid chair stream. But what I mean is, I don't know how they're possibly going to stitch it together into a story that is satisfying to general audiences, because that's what they need, and that works in closing out the saga going into the next one, Secret Wars, that closes out this. This isn't the Infinity War saga, so just like the Marvel saga, and then leads into their soft reboot of their franchise. I don't see how they can pull off all the things they need to in those two movies, because they've done no real setup. They have no real character star power right now from what they've created post Endgame. I mean, of course, they're bringing back RDJ and a bunch of the other actors, but I'm talking like new characters that they can breathe life into the movies with. They don't have that. So it seems I don't see how they could do it. What you would have to do is ignore a lot of what was done, particularly in Phase 4, because it was just disastrous. You'd have to ignore Loki. You'd have to ignore Doctor Strange. You'd have to ignore Eternals, which they're already doing, so that helps. Thor: Love and Thunder, the Marvels. There's so much you'd have to ignore because those are incongruent with each other, and we know that. The reason for that is because the writers of these projects did not talk to each other. There was no plan. They were just throwing shit at the wall to see what happens, and now they've created a universe that is so convoluted that its main creatives don't even know that they haven't even watched the other stuff. So they're just making things in a vacuum and just hoping it works. And now, at the 11th hour, they have to try to string it all together into something coherent and something that is engaging enough to make a huge profit, because the budget estimates for this next Avengers movie are in like the 500, 600 million range. So at least 1.5 billion to be considered somewhat successful is what's going to be needed. But I mean, after this, when their last movie's making a third of that, and that's just on the gross profit, I'd be shocked. I would be shocked. So what do I think they're going to do? I think that because they're going through like huge amounts of like reshoots and redrafts of the script, I think they're going to realize stupidly that trying to have something developed for each character that they're going to bring into this movie, which is like 30 of them, is not going to work. So what they're going to do is they're going to have like 5 to 7 characters that they really focus on, and the rest are just going to be very short but sweet cameo-esque type appearances where they're there, they're kind of in the background, or they show up for a fight or something like that, and then they're just like shuttered out. So people can go like, "Ooh, there's that guy," or there they are," and blah blah blah, and then they leave, and then they can continue with the rest of the plot for whatever. I think that's the direction to go. It's not the direction I would go. Um, I think I would try to do. I would do it with a tweak. I would do that, but I would try to make it in integral small roles that are like interesting for like quick interesting. So like an example would be in the original Avengers was Selvig, who plays a minor role in the movie, but has an important role and says interesting things while he's on screen. So it's like you don't get a lot of him, but you're like, oh, this is interesting, and I could have more if I wanted to. Of course, they never did much with Selvig after that movie, but that is kind of the general thing I would do. They don't have to be in the spotlight for very long, just enough to give you a sense of, ooh, that's like a character and they're doing something and that's kind of interesting and they're existing in this world. That's the direction Marvel would go if they were smart, but they know that they're just going to want to do the standard things that they know gets them money, which is fight scenes, special effects, quippy, stupid humor. Um, I can't believe I'm referencing like I'm referencing the main appeals of like Thunderbolts and stuff like that. But like, I mean, that's what like generally gets them positive reception. And um, I don't know. It's just going to be how much weight does the Avengers name have? That's what we're going to find out next year. How how much have they squandered their own brand is going to become very clear um, when we see this movie, and it's shocking that you think back. It's going to be 7 years since the last Avengers movie by the time this comes out. Well, what will be the opinion or view of Marvel then? It's going to be. I mean, Star Wars is going to be even longer, so that's going to be incredibly exciting to see what happens there when the next movie comes out. But for Marvel, they're kind of in a similar boat where they they don't know quite yet. They're still in this vague territory where they've tried stuff with like popular people, like Fantastic Four, like Deadpool and Wolverine, which is basically they're doing X-Men. But these are all lower than Avengers. Avengers is like the main boom. That's where the most of their fame came from. So it'll be exciting to see what happens there. Um, and then going back to what I was talking about with like general movie things, I think what you're gonna see, hopefully, is as Hollywood gets diversified throughout the country and even throughout the world with like foreign productions, with all the tax credit stuff and post writer strike, I think you're gonna see budgets slowly start to trickle down. The studios that are already doing the low budget movies are gonna start getting more work. There's gonna be a lot more uh, appetite for those, and you're also gonna see uh, a kind of shift away, and I'm not sure to what, but you're gonna see a shift away from the the main genres here, because superhero movies aren't a genre, but you're gonna see a shift away from the superhero movies, probably generally from the action movies, because you just got a lot of it. I mean, Jurassic World is what I would consider an action movie. Lots of these like sci-fi esque movies kind of fall under action. I think you're going to want to see um, stuff that's kind of been sorely missing for almost 20 years now. You're going to see a lot more comedies, romance, rom coms. Um, Instead of horror, you're going to see a lot more like thriller type movies, slower dramas. I wouldn't even be surprised if you get like like the soap opera, like extreme stuff. I'm talking like Downton Abbey type stuff. That's, I think, the direction we're headed in. We're gonna see this, cool down, relaxed film landscape, at least in the short term. Because superhero movies and these big budget action movies are kind of hitting their Western 70s stride, where it's like, it's not really the cool thing anymore, and they're not even that good anyway, so we need something else. But I will guess we will see. That is all I wanted to say about that. Quick note before I go. I know it's been many a time since my last appearance, and I apologize, I've been busy, but I plan to return to making stuff, and hopefully you will see it very soon. I'm working as diligently as I can to get this stuff out. I have a lot of projects that I want to do, and that I want to get done before the year is over, and so you can expect to see those when they come out. So don't lose hope. All right. Bye-bye.